Guys who are obsessed with women who just turned 18 are creepy. Because it's the same as an employer who pays minimum wage. Sure, it's not a crime, but we know if it wasn't for the law, they'd be going lower.
Comment was pretty funny. But here's a reality, and this is just common throughout all of history. In fact, most of Asia is this way, Africa, even some European cultures.
Hi folks, the Filipino P here. And when you visit the Philippines, you're gonna see plenty of couples with large age gaps walking down the street holding hands.
Where it's very, very common for, like, my father to go for a younger woman, about 14 years younger than him, or my ex-wife's father to go for a woman who was 18 years younger than him, I believe. Her mother was I think 18 years in difference. And, most of this world is like that. That's just kind of how it goes. That's certainly how it is here in Asia. I mean, you'll see 18-year-old, 20-year-old, 25-year-old girls with a 65-year-old man commonly. It's not uncommon. And Jordan Peterson talks about this too. I'll have to let him give some, real scientific information on this that I don't necessarily have.
What is your opinion or feedback about what you've seen about relationships being successful if there is a substantial age gap of, let's say, 10, 15 years? What has been your understanding as to the overall satisfaction of those relationships and the ability for them to be able to be long-lasting and satisfying when compared to relationships with, less than a 10-year age gap or so?
First of all, that's generally a situation with a younger woman and an older man. I'm not going to comment on the reverse situation because it's very rare.
Women live longer. It technically makes a little bit more sense. That's coming from me.
It violates the social norm again. Like women cross-culturally prefer men who are about 4 years older. And there's a variety of reasons for that. The major reason is that a wise woman isn't looking for another child. She's looking for someone who she can rely on to be productive, generous, loving when she's incapacitated or more incapacitated in pregnancy and with young children. And so women even the scorecard by looking for men who are mature, and no wonder. And young men have to understand that. A 17-year-old male is not a very marketable creature. Now, there are exceptions to that, spectacularly attractive people who are outstanding in some manner, can leapfrog the game, but basically, men gain advantage as they age. There are women who I've met who are looking for someone who's quite substantially more mature. And there are advantages to that, I think, for a woman, because as men establish themselves, they know more, they have broader social connections, they're more competent, and they have more resources. And the other thing, is by the time you're 25, you're about as old as everyone else until they're like 70. You hit that period of maturity where roughly people are the same age. And so if you're attracted and you're both willing, then I don't see that as a problem that's any more insurmountable than personality differences or the other idiosyncrasies that couples have to contend with.
Do you think it's weird? So I think the difference between, say, 30-year-old woman or 25-year-old woman and 40 or 45-year-old man, that makes more, or if you go up, that kind of makes sense. Do you think it's weird when we see like 35-year-old men who refuse to date anybody who's above the age of 22?
Yeah. Well, there is a relationship between youth and There's a relationship between youth and casual sexual attractiveness, the same way there is between maybe overuse of makeup and casual sexual attractiveness. Like, if you're shallow, I'm not exactly saying that attraction to youth and beauty is shallow, but, you know, there are 15, 16-year-old models. They're not uncommon at all.
Yeah.
They're usually quite made up. And that makeup gives them a sexual patina. And it's very easy, if you're male, to be attracted sexually by surface. It's a sign of lack of maturity and wisdom. And I'm not trying to make a case against beauty, but there are plenty of beautiful women who are 30. There are plenty of beautiful women who are 50. It gets harder as you get older to maintain that. Your mother has done that extraordinarily well. They're not seeing the whole person.
Yeah.
And that's convenient if what you want to do is have responsibility-free sex. But there's no such thing as responsibility-free sex. That's a complete lie. And so then it's immature. And so those men are immature. It's as simple as that. They're immature. And they're not having a relationship. They're not tying themselves together with someone for the long run. And that cripples them, because life is very hard. It's not something you should undertake alone. You will become, you can't be sane alone. I think with regards to the age difference, maybe the one thing you want to ask if you're a young woman with an older man is, you know, are you looking for a father? But then, if you didn't have a father and you're a very young woman, like, maybe you need that more mature guidance. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's valuable to you. Why wouldn't it be?
I think as long as you avoid the psychopathic types that are just after naivety, then you're all kind of the same age after a certain point anyway, so it probably doesn't matter. And maybe there are some benefits even, depending on the person.
That's a perfectly reasonable summation.
But this is what my comment was in this whole thing. I've never been one to date anyone in their teens since I married your mama. But the more I heard, for example, a 20-year-old woman is too immature to marry, honestly, maybe it's time to raise the age of adults from 18 to maybe 30, and apparently women mature faster than men, by about 5 years mentally. So maybe the age of accountability and consent should be raised from 18 to 20 for women, and from 18 to 25 for men. Soon we will have people claiming 50-year-olds are just children. They can't make proper choices for themselves. Whereas, for example, our landlords in Puerto Rico who were married for 61 years got married when they were 14 years old. He was a pastor and our landlord, good people too, but as time moves forward, humans seem to get more infantile. And it does seem like women especially, maybe humans in general, are becoming more infantile, whereas, you know, there were 15, 16, 17-year-old boys lying about their age to go to war and defend their country in my father and grandfather's era. And now you've got, you know, men pretending to be women so they can win trophies at whatever sports they're bad at. And I think it's just a different culture. I don't think that it's right or wrong necessarily for older men to go with younger women. I'd say it depends on the circumstance. Reply here is that when we lived in Puerto Rico, my family lived in Puerto Rico, we rented from a pastor of what were they? The Holy Rollers, the Pentecostals. He was a pastor of a Pentecostal church, and he married his wife. I think they've been married for 61 years. They were like 75 years old when we met them, and they've been married since they were 14. And they had multiple children, very successful children, good lives. It was just a different, grittier generation. People just grew up faster. They weren't coddled, you know, into little emotional train wrecks. They had to have some grit and some endurance.
We have a chronological age, a psychological age, a physical age, and a sexual age. Age gap couples frequently are compatible in the last three. Even if you're satisfied with your relationship, it's possible to encounter some challenges with a large age difference. Confronting and problem solving these challenges, which often have to do with outside judgment, could lead to an even greater happiness in your partnership. I think the judgment is different for when the man is older versus when the woman is older. When the woman is older, it's like, oh, she's a cougar. Oh yeah, she's going after all these young men. It's never creepy. It's always either, oh, good for her, being with all these young men, or taking a look at the man and being like, why would he want to be with an older woman? That's the judgment that I see online for when the woman is older. But when the man is older, it's often viewed as perverted, creepy, weird. Of course, we're talking about 18 and older. We're talking about consenting adults here. I'm not talking about illegal relationships in this video. I'm talking about two people who are of age of consent, 18 or older. Please keep this in mind as you're watching. But it's interesting that the judgment is often different when the man is older versus when the woman is older. I've never seen someone say that an older woman is creepy for dating a man who's significantly younger than her. It's always just like, oh, she's a cougar, he likes older women.
Well, apart from the physical aspect, what do you think you would have in common with someone that young?
Do you think that commonality is the ultimate thing that men or women care about when it comes to it being attracted to somebody?
It's not the ultimate, but it gets started, like whatever relationship you want to build.
But when you say, what do you have in common with an 18-year-old, what do you think in that regard I have in common with, like, are you talking about, oh, we're in the same age cohort, therefore we've seen the same movies? It is interesting, like, men always get shamed for their preferences, standards, and boundaries. Men are not allowed to have preferences. Women, they can like tall men, they can like XYZ characteristics when it comes to men. But the moment a man says, well, this is what I'm attracted to, oh, I don't like to date obese women. Oh my God, you're so superficial. Men are not allowed to have preferences, standards, and boundaries.
Look at the men are so allowed to have preferences.
The shaming language has been through the roof. It's insecure, it's controlling, the P word, it's been almost crazy, like the degree to which you're trying to, what's the term? You are trying to pathologize men's almost innate attraction to women who are not promiscuous. Like you're pathologizing men's attraction to women who are not whores, basically.
No, I don't think we weren't saying like you guys can't have preference. I feel
no, but you're saying it's pedophilic that men are attracted to women who are not promiscuous.
If you, look at society in the way.
Hi folks, the Filipino P here. And when you visit the Philippines, you're gonna see plenty of couples with large age gaps walking down the street holding hands. Now some of you think that's just fine, but other people have a strong negative reaction. So why is there such a difference of opinion? I recently did several videos that featured people with age differences, and as usual, some of you left comments like, ew, that's just sick, referring to the man as a pervert and to the woman as a gold digger. Now from your perspective, I can understand why it might look so unhealthy, and everyone has a right to their opinion. But what's the reality behind these couples? Is the older man just buying her companionship? Is the woman just selling her youth and beauty? Is love involved? Or is it all just a grotesque fantasy? And how would you even know the difference? Is it just your Western culture that makes you nauseated when you see a man in his golden years and a woman in the flower of your youth sharing a kiss? Or is there something illicit and immoral going on? If you're a man in his 50s or 60s, how would you feel about being with a woman in her 20s? How old is too old? Well, no matter how you look at it, get ready to put aside your preconceived ideas and challenge everything you thought you knew about the age gap. The topic of age gaps is in response to the comments I got about the 50-year-old Filipina who was looking for a man over 70, and about the video I did with John and Jessa, the couple with almost 40 years between them. While most of the comments were positive, there were quite a few people that simply didn't believe there could be real attraction in situations like these, so there had to be other motivations at work. And not only did the folks I interviewed take some heat, but I had shots fired at me as well for glorifying and promoting age gaps. But I didn't glorify or promote anything. I just told their story. My channel is about Filipino culture and what the reality is here. Whether or not it makes you uncomfortable, it's part of life here, so I cover it. Why wouldn't I? Reporting on something is totally different from pushing an agenda, which I don't have. I've devoted whole videos to warning guys about bringing younger women back to the West and the potential dangers of age differences because I tell both sides of the story. But to the people who objected to the video about the 38-year age gap, let me ask you this. What if John and Jessa had a disastrous relationship and it turned out that he was a broken down old sex maniac and she was a gold digger that bled him dry and monkey branched to a rich young doctor in Canada? I bet the complainers would suddenly love the video and it wouldn't bother him a bit that I covered it. Now, I would have done the story either way, of course. So, who's got the agenda? Who's got the bias? Well, I think I just proved it ain't me because I just follow the story wherever it leads. But how can people look at the same video and draw such different conclusions about the people in it? Because all of us, whether or not we want to admit it, carry around preconceived ideas, and when we look at an older man with a much younger woman, we already think we know what it's all about. And if you make a comment like, "Ugh, big age gaps are disgusting," that's an opinion that you have every right to hold, but it's just an opinion. I think blue cheese is disgusting. So what? If you can't tell me why something's gross except that it makes you feel yucky, then it doesn't really carry much weight, just like my opinion about cheese. If you say that big age gaps are objectively wrong or immoral, then you've made a claim, and you should be able to defend it. You're welcome to post that comment too, but I hope you'll tell us why you think your claim is correct. Now, most people who object to these relationships say that the woman's not even attracted to the guy she's with. But if two people are together based on both of them getting a mutual benefit, who cares if it's not all about having the tingles for each other? Do you really think Western women only marry because they want to rip the clothes off their husbands? If you think that, you've been brainwashed by the same blue pill Disney fantasy that got you guys into trouble in the first place. What's wrong with a woman choosing a man she thinks is a good match, even if he's not 6 feet tall, young and rich? Not many women have that opportunity around here. So as long as she's not being forced to sell herself or ending up with someone that mistreats her, who am I to pass judgment? I also hear how we Filipinos supposedly have to hold our noses and just grin and bear it every time we sleep with our older foreign partners. Well, I can honestly say I've never heard a single Filipina complain about that, and I know plenty of Filipinas in age gap relationships. The people who say that just can't understand how we could be physically attracted to older foreigners. So let me try to explain why that's not necessarily the case. What we see when we look at you is not what you see when you look at yourselves. Even a guy you call ugly might actually be considered cute here. A man that never got any attention back home because of his big nose, or the shape of his face, or his below average height might be seen as attractive here. And if you don't believe that, just look at the reverse situation. Filipinos that don't get looked at by local guys because we're too skinny or too dark are the ones that foreigners go for. The same thing happened to me. I was never a head turner, but once I started running into foreigners, I started getting noticed a lot more for the very same reasons that local guys passed me by. I was too slender and my skin was too brown. You'll find that many Filipinas can't believe that foreigners think we're attractive and don't understand why you pick us over our lighter-skinned, curvier competition. So just because you don't see anything special when you look in the mirror doesn't mean that we won't. But what about the age thing? Don't Filipinos see an older guy with liver spots and run the other way? Well, it might blow your mind, but here's the truth. Most of us actually prefer some age on a man. Ask almost any Filipina, and she'll tell you that younger guys can be a less desirable option when you're looking for a long-term mate. Men in their 20s or early 30s are not as mature, and we usually think they're a greater risk to walk out on us. Remember the video with a 50-year-old woman who wants a man in his mid-70s? The reason she gave for wanting an older guy was so he wouldn't leave her. Well, it's the same thing with younger Filipinos too.